great announcement and celebration. So if you're here, you must be a lover of art, correct? All right. So give yourselves a big round of applause for being a lover of art. No secret that I am a lover of art. There are many art forms. This particular artist that we're celebrating and recognizing today is a multimedia kind of a guy. And by the way, he's a lawyer too. Did you all know that? I'm sure it informs his art in some significant way. But I've had the pleasure of knowing this wonderful man for about as long as anyone that I've known in this county, which is 40 years, close to it. And we were collaborators at Legal Services of Greater Miami. He actually ran for office, and I walked the streets on his behalf, so I know the guy pretty well. I can vouch for him and his character. And not only his art that has evolved and gained recognition all over the world, but his love of justice and his love for the planet, his love for people, is really, really renowned. He's gone all the way to Antarctica to prove it. Yes, and he brought me back a flag that had been implanted there, so at least he told me, what do I know? Anyway, it is a very, very special day, and so we're glad you're here. So this is to talk about the first ever artist in residence in Miami-Dade County. So we can't imagine Miami-Dade without art. There's art everywhere. There's great art in this museum. There's art on the streets, there's art on the wall, there's art that wasn't commissioned, but somebody felt the great need and urge to put it up. We even have a graffiti museum acknowledging street art and the great many artists who started with the canvas of public spaces, right? I'm invited. So we all know that Miami-Dade is paradise. We have beautiful landscapes, we have bright colors. I wore a bright color today. We have tastes and smells that are so diverse and dynamic and delicious and exciting. We have great beaches, and we have a fantastic cultural fabric that is informed by so many cultures, so many nationalities, local traditions, and deep heritage right here. So art touches all of us, and it's an important medium for how we tell our story about place. In fact, Xavier did an exhibit one time about missing places. I don't know how many of you remember that, knew that, and people would go to the places that they had loved and remember that were no longer there. Right? Placemaking, I'm getting the shivers just thinking about it. Because, that's happening a lot. That's happening a lot. And in our state, it's really a challenge. I'm sorry, a little political commentary, to preserve important places right now where that's not so much valued, unfortunately. But we in Miami-Dade County, as government, have honored our art, we put it in our airports, we put it in all of our buildings, our public spaces, and so we have really helped to promote art as a staple for all of our places. So just a few months back, as was mentioned by our chief librarian, Ray Baker, we did announce the appointment of the first ever poet laureate. And who better than our local poet, extravagant poet that was part of the Obama inauguration, Richard Blanco, who also is a professor at FIU, and he serves as our muse and guide under the guidance of our poet ambassador, or ambassadress, and that would be Nicole Tallman. Where are you, Nicole? Nicole. Who helps to bring these programs to light. Thank you so much. Herself a published poet, who actually worked collaboratively to create a crown sonnet for my mayoralship, which was very inspiring to me. Never imagined I'd have a sonnet. Thank you, Nicole, for that. So all of this is happening. These ideas are being generated from the 29th floor of the Stephen P. Clark Center, our little home, away from home. And we have close to 30,000 employees now in Miami-Dade County. Yes, and we are really grateful for the art that helps all of our workers every day feel uplifted and inspired. So, now a little bit about art as a vehicle for social change. I'm actually very passionate about this concept. We know that it's hard sometimes for people to just get involved in social causes, from listening, talking, ideology, and what really is important is for people to be moved in their hearts to make positive change. And often that happens through a connection with something more personal, artistic in nature. And I remember very well my grandmother, who is no longer with us, who was a great lover of art, and she would take me places that I did, museums and galleries, and I didn't always like it, and she was very direct and critical, and she said, it's not whether you like it, it's whether you understand it. Just saying. So there is, the art is there, it's communicating something, and maybe you get it or you don't. So it's on us to really try to understand. Fortunately for us, Xavier's art is very, very powerful, it's very present, it's very immediate, it relates to things happening in our world today, and so therefore it has been a really important vehicle for engaging people in some of the most critical social issues of the day. So it is with particular pride that we selected Xavier Cortada to be our first artist in residence, because he is so aligned with the values, the priorities of our future, for our vision. Thank you. You lift them up. So you are going to help us, Xavier, and he's receiving suggestions for ways that he can lift up those messages. So we've invited our county employees to give ideas, and you can give ideas as well. So we are going to, in honor of today's event, name Xavier Cortada in front of all of you, as I've said, artist in residence. And so I'm going to invite him up in just a moment to tell us also a little bit about himself and what he's doing here. But I was inspired to walk out of my office with another piece of social art. Okay, this metal flower, this rose, was given to me on my recent trip to Israel. And it was given to me by Commanding General of the Israeli Home Front Command. And this is created from rockets that landed in Israel. So the art is called From Rockets to Roses. So it's a transformative piece of art that reminds us that we can emerge from difficulties, we can emerge from conflict, we can make a better world, we can recast to something beautiful. So this is the kind of art that I think speaks to Xavier's approach. And so please, Xavier, join me here. Okay, so you've probably seen his artwork and not even realized it. You may wonder, what are those colorful things with the little threads coming out of them, long and lean, under various bridges or along roadways, right? Well, those are mangrove seedlings, of course. And who has done more than Xavier to talk about the importance of mangroves to our shorelines? Really nobody. You've really raised tremendous awareness. He's had all kinds of installations involved in mangroves. He is behind the iconic Miami mangrove forest. Okay, and then also, he was the founder of the first underground HOA, or Homeowners Association. So if any of you have seen in Pinecrest, they've adopted this fully used artist in residence there as well. where in the middle of roadways, it will tell you how high above sea level you are, and there were signs for people to put at their home. I'm 7 feet above sea level. I'm very fortunate to live on a little crest, but Hurricane Irma, the waters came right up to the edge of my home. So, underwater homeowners. So he's an eco-artist, that's how he describes himself. He was born in New York, like myself, but he was raised as a Cuban American, and he has created 3 decades of art in North and South Poles across 6 continents, more than 150 public artworks, installations, collaborative murals. We've taken part in several of them over the years, and we have one right here, and I'm going to let him describe that, part of our Thrive 305 initiative. He's been exhibited at the White House, the World Bank, Port Everglades, Miami City Hall, to name a few, and of course now the first artist in residence with his installation of mangroves in our conference room on the 29th floor. So come take a look, it's really beautiful. He's been at the Perez Art Museum, Nova, NSU, Museum of Art, Fort Lauderdale, WhatCon, Patricia and Philip Frost Art Museum, Miami-Dade College Museum of Art and Design. He was locally educated, he holds bachelor's, master's, and law degrees from University of Miami, and he currently serves as professor of practice at University of Miami Department of Art and Art History. He was also part of the FIU faculty, and he was in residence in a storefront on Lincoln Road. I visited him there. So you can see his pieces also at the Pinecrest Gardens on the Parrot Jungle. So he's deeply engaged, as you can see, in this community for a lifetime. And he has made an indelible mark through his art, through his advocacy, through his engagement on climate, on resilience, on so many things that are so important to our future. So it is with great, great honor that I welcome this wonderful man to the stage to tell us about what he's going to do. Here you go.
It is with an incredible sense of honor, with humility, but also with almost an insurmountable amount of responsibility, Mayor, that I accept this honorary appointment. Because I know I am the first of what will be many artists who will be appointed by future mayors, including yourself and future mayors, who will bring creativity and art and artists to the table. So it is a big day, and I understand the role. I'm proud to be here with many of the public servants who serve our community. Some who have known for years, like Levine Morales, who is standing right in front of me. To those like Aloka Enriquez at the back of the room, I was the immediate past chair of the Cultural Affairs Council, following in some great footsteps, a decade of services, our chair of the Cultural Affairs Council, and the incredible engine that is fostered by that council is the culture that brings in billions of dollars of value to our community. So I'm among friends, I am among environmental leaders, and I'm even among my interns. So it's really exciting, it's really a beautiful place for me to be, but I'm still looking at this with incredible responsibility. What I aim to do is use the elasticity of art, the power of art, to work across the departments, across the disciplines, across the communities, to engage our public servants and our residents in creative ways of problem solving, of thinking and of imagining a more loving, a more just, and a more beautiful future for Miami-Dade County. That is what I'm trying to do for you, Mayor, because that is why we all elected you. That is why we are so excited to have elected you as our mayor. And I know the power of art because as a kid, I grew up in broken homes and broken circumstances, and I knew that by helping others, not only did I help them, but I helped myself. I remember doing that as a kid at Miami High School, where I won a Silver Knight Award. I remember doing that in college, volunteering, creating drug rehab centers, and eventually working with kids in Wynwood when I was chair of the city's youth gang task force. And all along the way, by me helping, I was helped and I learned. And it is those lessons from communities, from the migrant workers in Homestead who I worked with creating art after Hurricane Andrew, from the kids in psychiatric facilities at Jackson who I worked with through the law school. Taking those lessons, working across our public housing communities, engaging our residents in creating public housing, I have learned and understood the power of art to transform. And the reason it does that, it is because art is the most human thing there is. It's literally how we as a species came about. 40,000 years ago, our ancestors were creating sand paintings. They weren't creating commodity. They understood the value. I mean, it's worth something now, but back then they were engaging one another in communicating ideas, how to work together, how to take abstract thoughts and share them with one another. And that's what allowed our species to evolve as it literally migrated across every single continent. And it is that power of art that I think can help us today in what is a polarized world. I think art can help us see through our differences and allow us to connect with one another. I think art can allow us to reframe the way we see things so that we can find a common ground and a way of problem solving. And I think art is what can give us hope and can elevate us. I want to use art in this community to take utility boxes that are all across Miami-Dade County, some utility boxes that are ugly, and give them a new utility by having art that tells our residents that art on land can show you how to care for our bay. I want to be able to make sure, right, that we work with our street intersections and create murals on them, not just to bring beauty to those intersections, Mayor, but as you told me, to ensure that our pedestrians are safer, because now there are reasons for motorists to slow down as opposed to rushing through and attacking our pedestrians. We have a new fleet of buses in Miami-Dade County, electric buses. How beautiful to use the power of art to wrap those buses in art, to communicate to our residents new ways, clean energies, new ways of bringing about a clean environment and a clean future. Let's use the power of art in bringing sustainable concrete sculptures to our parks, mapping the topography of our community so our neighbors can understand, even those who are far away from the coastlines, their vulnerability to the rising seas and the things that we need to do proactively. Let's use art in our water treatment facilities and our plants. Let's create educational centers there that allow art to make our residents understand not just to value water, but the value of water. Why we need to invest in water and in that infrastructure. Because water may look like it comes out of a faucet, but there's a whole lot of processes involved in delivering that water to you. Let's use eco-art in our parks, in our educational programming, so that we can, in our parks, develop a cadre of citizens who are science literate, who are empathetic, and who have agency, develop skills that allow them to care for our environment and build a better future for each and every one of us. Let's use art to recycle right? Let's use art to let our community understand how it is that you reduce, reuse, and when you recycle, to recycle right. So there's a lot of opportunities for us here. There's an opportunity to use art to let those who are unheard and hurting have their voices lifted. Those who are homeless, those who have mental illness, those who are poor, those who suffer, need to feel that they are brothers and sisters. Art can connect us to them. And let's use art to celebrate. Let's use art to celebrate. Let's use art to thank our first responders. Let's use art to celebrate our identity, to celebrate our cultures, our sexual orientations, our brothers and sisters from across the globe who come here looking for political freedom or for economic opportunity. And let's also use art, like our mayor asked me to do, to capture the voices of constituents who want to be heard as policymakers in Miami-Dade County enact budgets and rules and regulations that will make your quality of life better. And Thrive 305, as you all know, was that campaign that our mayor, in her first inaugural year, launched, where she worked to reach out to every community across Miami-Dade County, received thousands of residents who gave her input to direct the kind of policies that she would manage. And I was a scribe, capturing those voices and incorporating them into that panel digitally. And this panel now is traveling across Miami-Dade County. So, Mayor, it is a great honor and humility, but an incredible amount of responsibility that I take this, because I know that I'm helping you do your part in transforming and changing this community for the better. I believe in you, and I want to use my heart to help you and your team do that. So thank you so much, Ms.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Xavier. That's just a small taste of what it is that Xavier brings to the table. It's been incredible. Thinking through all the millions and millions of ways that you